If CJ Stroud's in a quarterback competition, one thing is very clear. We know who the locker room's rooting for. Not this locker room, the Texans locker room. Now let's go inside this locker room, the Landry Locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source.
Welcome to the locker room, the number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. You can see me right here inside the locker room. Subscribe, like, right along. Training camp is approaching. I will be on the field at every practice. I'll be talking to at least one player straight off the field, and I'll be providing you with the best Texans coverage you can get. So subscribe, like, right along, all that stuff. Appreciate you for coming through. And one of the big storylines in training camp is CJ Stroud. Now, many of us believe this is not a real competition. This isn't a quarterback competition. CJ Stroud's going to be the starting quarterback when the Texans take on the Ravens week 1. But the coaching staff insists. They've talked about rotation. They've talked about competition. They've talked about all that type of stuff. But the one thing that has remained pretty evident throughout the offseason is that it seems like the team is supporting CJ Stroud as if he's the number one quarterback. On both sides of the ball. We've had Noah Brown come out and say that CJ Stroud can be Dak Prescott. He can be as good as Dak Prescott. Colin Cowherd took that and he ran with it. We've had Tank Dell praise him. We've had Robert Woods praise him. We've had all this praise, and we've also had on my show on Sports Radio 610, we had Shaq Griffin talk about how the whole team is behind him. And it's been very clear that most of the guys are behind CJ Stroud when it comes to him being the quarterback of this team. However, a lot of those quotes, a lot of those comments, you can maybe say you're looking too much into it. And yeah, of course they're going to support him. He's their teammate. Until today, when the highest paid offensive lineman, two-time, as he says, highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL, and the best player on the team, Laremy Tunsil, kind of made it pretty clear who he is supporting in this quarterback competition. This was Laremy Tunsil's post on his Instagram. Pretty cut and dry. Ain't no reading between the lines there. 3 letters or 2 letters, a number, and an emoji. QB1, fingers crossed. Very clear. If it wasn't obvious before, Laremy Tunsil is behind CJ Stroud, and I think the rest of the team is as well. Now, they don't make it as obvious as maybe Laremy does, but that's just how Laremy Tunsil does his thing, and that's why we love Laremy Tunsil, because Laremy Tunsil will come out and tell you what he thinks, and he's endorsing, fingers crossed, CJ Stroud as QB1, and he was also on the Pat McAfee show. Let's listen to a little bit of what Laremy Tunsil had to say, not just about CJ Stroud, but also about the vibe as a whole, as well as his transformation as a player now that the expectations are increasing. This was Laremy Tunsil on McAfee.
Pat, everything you just said.
This is him about CJ Stroud.
It hits it on the head. He handled himself well. He came in the building with these unbelievable leadership skills, and he's killing it, man. Like, how I describe CJ is dog. He's a straight dog. He comes in there ready to work. He handles the huddle perfectly, and he go out there and ball, man. You know, you got to appreciate that, especially in a young quarterback like CJ.
All right, so there you go. He calls him a dog, which is one of Laremy Tunsil's go-tos, dog. That's what he talks about him. What about the vibe as a whole, though? CJ is clearly the choice for Laremy Tunsil when it comes to the starting quarterback. What about the vibe, though? I feel it. I'm sure you feel it. A lot of people feel it. Hell, you go back to when this channel started before last year, there weren't too many people interested. Now there's all kinds of Texans content all over the place. And it's a great feeling. It's a great vibe. The passion, the fan base, been to every game for years. Last year was pathetic, half empty, all that. You can feel the vibe, and it can also be felt in the locker room. Here's Laremy Tunsil, who got here in 2020, so he's been through the rough patch. Here's Laremy Tunsil talking about the new vibe in Houston.
It's a whole new vibe, man. D'Amico came in with that energy that he brought from San Fran and just changed the whole vibe around the building, and that's something that we needed, especially since these past 3 years. Man, we've been in the rut, so D'Amico coming to the building, he brought some new coaches in. We got some new players, man. It's just a whole new vibe that's in that building.
So there you go, a whole new vibe. Now, I do wonder this, and this is the thing I like about Laremy Tunsil, is that Laremy Tunsil just handles his business. And Laremy Tunsil, if things are going bad, he's not going to be one of those guys that's going to whine. You're not going to have like a Brandon Cook situation where you're not going to have a Brandon Cook situation where, you know, he's going to be disappointed because someone leaves, or he's going to be disappointed because of the win-loss record and all that type of stuff. Laremy Tunsil just kind of handles his business, and he just does his thing. And I do wonder, like, as a mentor, from like a mentor perspective, what is Laremy Tunsil going to be like? Is Laremy Tunsil going to be just one of those go about the business guys, or do we see Laremy Tunsil transform into kind of one of these outspoken vocal leaders, taking guys under his wing? Here's Laremy Tunsil talking about that with Pat McAfee.
Absolutely. I had some great mentors coming in the league. I had Brandon Albert, I had Mike Pouncey. You know, I had some good guys. So yeah, I'm ready to step in this role.
Do we change anything this year? Change any, like, do you change stuff at this stage with how great you've been, or you work on stuff, or you just try to be you every year?
I try to be me every year, stay consistent. I think that's one of my biggest things, man.
It'll be really interesting to see how this goes, but it's very clear. The one thing that is very evident, CJ Stroud might be in a competition. The coaches can tell us that. They can talk about competition. They can rotate reps and all that. Players have spoken. Multiple players have spoken, including the best one, the biggest one, and one of the most important ones when it comes to the success of the quarterback. He's going to be protecting the blind side of whoever's there. Laremy Tunsil made it very clear. He wants to be protecting the blind side of CJ Stroud. Subscribe, like, ride along, no matter what happens, whether it's Davis, whether it's CJ, whether Laramie's a mentor or not. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we are all in this together. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Have a good weekend. About to go to the juice box. Check out the Astros game with some of my Sports Radio 610 peeps.
We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got